We have a special guest. Now, this guest that we have on, you guys should be really putting on your seatbelts. If you want to know anything about why these people are marching on Wall Street right now, this guest is going to give you just cause of why you should be aware of what's happening on Wall Street and why you should be aware of what's happening as far as insider trading, this, that, and the other. I'm very glad to have him as a friend, and I'm very, very happy to really know he really has opened my eyes to a lot of things, and he causes you to really ask a lot of questions to things that you might not have worried or thought about before. I'm going to dial him live now on the air.
Hello?
Hello, Richard. This is Aaron Meyers.
How you doing, Aaron? Great to hear from you.
Man, it's great to hear from you, too. I want everyone to know Richard has even been working this morning. I got your email this morning about the insider trader who was just convicted. I mean, you are really on top of what's going on. But I think it'd be nice if I asked you so the audience would know how you and I became acquainted.
Okay, turn back the clock to 2009. After the financial meltdown of 2008 that destroyed the financial system, I got involved in a movie. I'm a narrator to the movie Stock Shock. It came out June 10th, 2009, and we thought finally the truth was going to be told about Wall Street counterfeiting stocks, and what took place was the news media just simply ignored the story. And somewhere along the line through social media network, and me and you connected, and I started telling you my story, I thought would be all over the news, but it never made it. So that's how we developed a friendship, and I've been fighting the battle ever since. What I've uncovered and other people fighting to get the truth out is simply amazing. I hope I'll be able to share some of my investigative research with the people today in the radio show. I love Occupy Wall Street. Finally, the American people are going to be told the truth thanks to social media networking, and God bless Steve Jobs, the founding father, made this happen.
Yes. You know, I would like to tell the listeners, before The Exchange was a radio show, The Exchange was a blog, and a pretty influential blog. And it was Richard's story that got the blog on Yahoo Business News, also on the stock market news as well. And it stayed an article on Yahoo Business News for a record 4 months almost. The information I saw with Stock Shock movie, also Oliver Stone even referenced Stock Shock movie for the movie he did, the Part 2 of Wall Street movie that he did with Mike Douglas. So tell me a little bit about this news media revolution that's taking place right now.
Well, I'll tell you, Aaron, just like you with your blog, after we talked, I ended up making my own blog, SeriousNews.com. But the news media revolution began, in my opinion, in 2008 when Sirius and XM merged. That's two satellite companies, major, to bring the news to the world through your cars, your phones, or whatever. But more importantly, Steve Jobs and Apple created the iPhone 3G, not the 2G, but the 3G, which created social media networking and eventually video cameras on the iPhones, and of course, after that, social media really took off. Facebook, then Twitter. I think Facebook has 750 million followers. I don't know how many Twitter has, but that's growing rapidly too, where you can put the links to the stories. But basically, the news media revolution began July 2008, where now, 3 years later, a little over 3 years later, we, the American people, the 99% Occupy Wall Street now, have become the news media of the future for the world, where we could use Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. We can be down on the Brooklyn Bridge and film that information and send it to YouTube right away. We are forcing the mainstream media that neglected this Stock Shark movie. It's called Stock Shark, the short selling of the American dream, which you saw,
right,
which clearly explained the counterfeiting of stocks by Goldman Sachs and many of these brokerage houses. And the news media ignored the story because what Dylan Radigan is saying is get the money out. The corporate greed, they control the news media and also the politicians, and they're protecting them instead of the people. And thank God the American people, thanks to the news media revolution of these technology and social media networks, that are going to finally tell the truth to the American people, but more importantly to the world, what has taken place with these greedy people on Wall Street. I have information to share with you about movies coming out October 21st and at the end of the month. And when the American people in the world see these videos that has the evidence on Goldman Sachs, all hell is going to break loose. It's going to be Occupy everything, never mind Occupy Wall Street.
Now, explain, and some of the listeners, and if they've not been following Wall Street or anything of that nature, tell them what the whole short selling. Give quickly just a quick background, because I believe it would be very helpful to our listeners, and we do have time to talk about it, so we're good on time. Real quickly, kind of just tell us about this Sirius XM and the shareholders and how this really sparked your involvement.
Well, basically, we had the meltdown. They changed the rule. The movie was about the uptick rule that they changed in 2007, these lobbyists and these banks, and which created a frenzy of corruption on Wall Street with counterfeiting. Where the problem lies in the stock market is what they call the DTCC, the Depository Trust and Clearing Corporation. Everything went to electronic, so these banks, they had these million-dollar banks and computer math whizzes to manipulate the stock prices, and basically the system failed the American people because you would buy stock through this electronic, and they would sell you the stock but never deliver it to you. They would send you an IOU as if you owned the stock, but you really didn't because they never owned the shares. These banks were selling counterfeit shares. They never owned them. But I don't want to it's really complicated. The best advice as far as that goes would be to go to, say, my website, SiriusNews.com, to understand some of the videos I made to explain it. And more importantly, Aaron, this powerful movie that the average person can understand is called Wall Street Conspiracy. It comes out October 21st, and I'm telling you, Aaron, it's an hour and 40 minutes, and it clearly explains the evidence against Goldman Sachs and how these brokerage houses and hedge funds ran rampant to steal the wealth off the American people in the world. And it's coming out October 21st, and it shows how they bankrupt thousands of companies, which in turn, when you bankrupt companies, then there's no jobs. The biggest growth in jobs in the United States is small business owners. These bankers were selling counterfeit shares, bankrupting the companies, which in turn eliminates the jobs. And that's why there's no jobs in the United States, or the unemployment rate is still at 9.1%, because these banks are playing around with counterfeit stocks and money.
Richard, I'm looking now at Bank of America, and these banks are getting ready to raise fees.
Well, I can explain that, Aaron. They want to start raising various fees because the Dodd-Frank bill, which here's the biggest problem. I'm going to tell you a couple of key problems. Dylan Radigan has it right. First off, we have to get the money out of politics. The Supreme Court last year ruled 5-4 to allow unlimited funds to be given to these politicians for these elections. Well, this is what it's about, the 1%. The corporations are paying millions and billions of dollars. How can we as average citizens compete against this with these ads, and then they get what they want? So that's the number one problem that we have to stop. And then, of course, all these criminals on Wall Street, not one of them have gone to jail.
Not one of them.
But they arrested 700 or 800 protesters last week. But I'm going to tell you right now, this movement, 20,000 last night, is going to grow to 40 to 100 to 500 to millions of people. When our voices start being heard about the information I have and many, many other people have, and they start to see these movies, it's going to turn into millions of people, and it's going to be occupation, everything. You name it, it's going to come to your city. But it's real, this movement, and that is why the news media at first tried to put us off as lunatics, but thank God that someone videotaped that cop spraying the girls.
Right.
And like I said, it goes back to the news media revolution. The people have had enough is enough, and they have the tools now to have their own live stream video.